Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Best Bet. I'm your host, Frank Scatoni, and we've got another tough 11 race card on tap here at Del Mar. The racing here has been unbelievable. It's been a horse player's delight, and I can't wait to talk about some of these races with today's guest. But before I introduce him, let me just remind everyone, I say this every week, this is not a traditional selection show. We're not going to talk about every race. We're just going to look at a couple of races and wagering strategies that offer the best opportunities to make a decent score on today's card. If you're watching live, feel free to leave us a comment or ask us any questions. If we have time, we'll get to it. Show will also be archived on Del Mar's Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube platforms. So if you're not watching live, you can check us out after. So I wrote about Quigley's Corner in my Frankly Speaking column for In the Money Media last week. And the premise of the column was basically, you just never know who you might meet at the corner. I've met so many great horse players in that spot, and today's guest is one of them. When I met him, he had decided on a whim to just fly out from his home base in Florida on a Saturday night to catch a Sunday day of racing at Del Mar and fly back. Flew out Saturday, watched the races on Sunday, and flew back. So we met each other in the paddock, and we just started to talk, and we hit it off. You know, there's always a point in an introductory conversation at the track when you can tell if someone is legit or full of hot air. When we were talking, I knew right away that today's guest was the real deal. He loves the game, he does the work, and he's not afraid to step out and make a sizable wager on his strongest opinions. I'm thrilled to have him on the show today. Please welcome, live from Saratoga by way of Florida, Joe Marcella. Joe, what's good?
Frank, man, it's a pleasure to be here, man. I really can't thank you enough for having me on the show, bro. It's an honor. So I'm happy to be here, and hopefully we can, give the public some good picks today.
I have no doubt we will, or you will anyway. So I mentioned in the intro that about your excursion Saturday for Sunday racing during the fall meet. What the heck motivated you to fly out here for Del Mar for just one day?
Yeah, so it's a crazy story. Last summer I was up in Saratoga again. Sunday we usually do like a pool day at my mom's. We play, some group tickets and, see what happens. And there was a horse called Joe Don Looney that was racing, and my mom's boyfriend decided to give me the nickname Joe Don Looney. So ever since that day, I was always looked out for the horse to see when he ran and, where and what. So yeah, that was a Saturday. I was sitting, kind of just looking at the entries for Sunday, and I seen he was running, and I booked a flight Saturday night, flew out, and that's when I ran into you, bro. Quigley's Corner. And I mean, like I said, look where it's led to today, so thankful that, it's something as funny and stupid as that, turned into something like this, so I'm happy to be here, man.
Well, that's the racetrack, right? You just never know what's going to happen. I love it. If I recall correctly, I know Joe Don Looney was a Nick Alexander horse. I don't know if it was trained by Miotti or D'Amato, but it was like a cool sprinter, right?
Yeah.
Or he was a cool sprinter.
They tried him on turf. They tried him on dirt. I don't think he had any success on the turf. I think he actually ran second at Santa Anita. I want to say it was down the hill or at 6.
Yeah.
And then, he's actually, it's funny because we've been looking, to see if he's training, and I haven't really seen anything. Last time he ran, I think, was April at Santa Anita, and he took the field. I think it was either that race or the race before. He went wire to wire. So yeah, I mean, he was not a bad horse. He was fun. I mean, the day that I went out there, he got beat by a Mark Glatt horse, and actually that's who has him now. Well, the last guy to have him was Mark Glatt. He claimed him off of Miotti. I think you're right, but
okay. You know what? I'm going to find out what Joe Don Looney's up to, and I'm gonna make sure next time Joe Don Looney runs, you're on a plane.
Yeah, bro. I've already been looking, to see if I, can make another surprise appearance. So maybe I will be this summer or the fall. So we'll see what happens.
Well, it's funny that we're talking about Joe Don Looney. What many people might consider sort of a nondescript, cool, mid-level racehorse. I know you came out here to Del Mar for a different type of horse. let's talk about that trip.
I mean, had to be one of the most impressive performances I've ever seen in my lifetime from a horse. I mean, he won by 20, geared down, Flavin Pratt's looking around. I mean, it was just an unbelievable, surreal experience to see a horse like that, the top of his game dominate like the way he did. I mean, so yeah, that was actually my first time at Del Mar, and what a way to, to be there for a horse like that, the biggest day of the meet like that, even though, arguably opening day may be bigger just because it's, everybody waits for it all year. But I mean, yeah, what a weekend that was, man. I mean, the weather was, I felt like I was in Florida, man. It was hot that weekend. I couldn't believe it was actually that hot there. But I mean,
Yeah.
what a time it was. And I was like, I have to get back out there immediately. And I found any excuse I could, and Joe Don Looney was it to get it back out there in November. So
So
yeah, I
I
mean,
love it. So the first time, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, one other thing about Flightline, I understand the breeding aspect of the sport, but imagine if that horse was still in training right now. I mean, people
Oh,
would be, flying all over the world to come see this horse. Tracks would be selling out. Something that the sport, kind of needs, and
yeah.
it's unfortunate, but at least Del Mar is in a great place. The field sizes are amazing. I can't say the same thing about my hometown track, Saratoga, right now. It's kind of probably one of the worst meets that I can remember, and everybody's been saying it around the track. I mean, you go there, and everyone's just like, it just doesn't have the same feel, like it used to anymore. Naira, they're struggling right now. It's kind of sad to see, but hopefully they can get
Yeah.
out of it.
Well, I love that your first trip to Del Mar was to come out for Pacific Classic Day and see Flightline. I love that your second trip to Del Mar was to come out to see Joe Don Looney. If that's not like a horse player summed up in a nutshell, it's just the top, and then just as the horse, like I said, a
Yeah,
mid-level
a new
allowance horse, just hysterical. Um,
a new name.
so we're gonna get into your races in a little bit. Oh wait, you know what? You mentioned Saratoga. What did you think of White Abario's performance in the Whitney yesterday with Dutro training now?
It's kind of crazy, how this sport is, and I hate to bring it up, but it's like when you had such a talented horse like Maple Leaf Mel, when, about to win her sixth in a row, first grade one, Parcells first grade one. And, I can't say anything bad about Rick Dutrow because I was a big fan of Rick Dutrow growing up. Willie Beeman was one of my favorite horses as a kid. I can remember when he won the Amsterdam on Wednesday and then he won the King's Bishop on Saturday. I mean, it was one of the
Wow.
most unbelievable things I've ever seen. So, I mean, I always, never knocked Rick, but, for a guy to get off a 10-year suspension and win a grade one, I'm happy for the guy. I really am. He hasn't
Yeah.
won a grade one since 2012. But I mean, the
Jeez.
job he's done with the horse is exceptional. I mean, the horse looked like he could have ran around the track again when he strided out past the wire. I mean, it was an unbelievable performance. So I'm
Yeah.
anxious to see where they go next with him. I was thinking maybe do they run him back in the Jockey Club Gold Cup? I mean, and at the end of the meet. I mean, that's got to be, maybe something to think about. Before, because after that performance, how do they not put him in the Breeders' Cup?
Oh,
So
I was very impressed because, like you said, he was striding out. It looked like he could have run around the track another time and not even
yeah.
blow a breath. He was very impressive to me. The Breeders' Cup's still a couple of months away, and anything can happen. Just let's go back a little bit so the audience can learn a little bit about you.
Yeah.
How did you get involved in the races? What's your background?
So my mom's side of the family is, my uncle owns horses. I even own 5% of a horse. He's not that good. He's at Finger Lakes right now, but hey, at least to say you have some skin in the game. But yeah, my uncle is Ed Fazone. He's got a string of horses. He's won some stakes races at Aqueduct. He won last year at the Spa with Dream Central, running down Clements, Philly. So it's been in my blood since day one. I mean, I started going to the track. I remember asking my mother, hey, can we call my Uncle Robbie, come pick me up? And he would every time. I mean, and that's where it all started for me. I mean, it was the $2 win bets on John Velasquez or $2 win bets on the 5. I mean, that was my main gig when I didn't know what I was looking at. Then I was betting Jorge Chavez and, Ramon Dominguez, and
Yeah.
so I mean, ever since about 8 years old, I've been going and betting and progressively, changing my bet patterns to win bets to now my main plays are horizontals. I mean, I'm obsessed with playing pick fives, and I really put a lot of time into trying taking down big pools on
Yeah.
Saturdays. So yeah, I mean it's so from 8 to now I'm 30. So it's like it's something I've been doing every day. Well, not every day, but every weekend at least. But
Sure.
always something that will never is a part of me. So I thank my uncle for bringing me around when I was 8, because I mean the love for the game I have is just I love it. So now living down the street from Gulfstream is
So
even
so
it's great too.
yeah, well, that's to say, you grew up in upstate New York, so you had the whole
Yeah,
Saratoga experience. Now I know you live right near Gulfstream Park.
yeah.
I mean, two iconic East Coast tracks. So, what appeals to you so much about Del Mar and California racing?
So it's crazy because even though I'm an East Coaster, I consider myself more of a West Coast handicapper. I enjoy betting Del Mar and more or less Santa Anita because it's around more. But I mean, I just love California racing. And it's funny because my uncle, who used to bring me to the track, his wife is the same way. She loves Del Mar just as much as I do. And I don't know what it is. It's down the hill was a big thing for me that I was like, wow, this is a very cool configuration of a race. I fell in love with that immediately. I always wanted to bet every single downhill race, always, every day, no matter what. And I don't know. It's just a different thing. Del Mar's field sizes. I mean, this year, I mean, we've seen the cards are just so tough, and the money to be made is, I mean, the average. Well, last year the average late pick five was paying I think $16,000. I mean, from a
Wow.
better standpoint, it's like if you're seeing that kind of stats, like why are you not, like getting giddy every single weekend to fire a pick five in, to try to have an opportunity to win that kind of money. Not saying Saratoga doesn't, offer and have some big payout days, but just something different about California racing that I've just learned to love a little bit more than East Coast racing. So
I love it, and I agree with you. The racing here at Del Mar over the last 2 years has just been exceptional. Big full fields. Uh, you know, finally, like I feel like the player out here has a little bit of an advantage, not an advantage, but has a more of a fair shot against all the computer models because the field size is so big, the races are so competitive, and every trainer and jockey and owner is trying to win here. It's like you're always going to get a best effort, right? So like you look at the NCAA tournament, you know that every team in that tournament is going to put forth 100% effort. That's the way it is here at Del Mar, and that's why you can land on horses that are such good value in these big full fields. And we're going to talk about some price horses that you like, but tell us a little bit about your handicapping approach. What is your process? What tools do you use? What are you looking for when you analyze a race?
So to be honest, I really don't use a lot of stuff. Over the years of, looking at the form and just evolving as a handicapper, just in my own mind of how to decipher a race, what kind of race it is. I love, like you said, I mean, like I mentioned to you the other day, when you look at trends of racetracks and you can pick up on those trends, hopefully they stay true. We were laughing the other day how we just watched 4 horses go wire to wire, and that hasn't happened all meet at Del Mar, you know what I mean? But like you said, if you could pick up on the trends, like we talked about, the dead
Yeah,
rail sprinting and, the rail going long on turf, saving the ground. I mean, you see a lot of inside horses do well, you know. I mean, I'm not a big like, numbers. I pay attention to the figs. I really do. I'm not saying that I don't, but class is a big thing for me, and the setup of a race,
yeah,
and like you said, how when I first met you, I don't I follow you, like I said, you were my main guy that I followed for California for years. I always looked at your picks. So I mean, glance at what you like, but it would always be I would do my capping first, then I would compare with you because I didn't want to, like get someone else's picks in my head
sure.
before I could, solidify the race. But I mean, looking at your stuff and here and there, I look at some other people's stuff as well. But
Yeah.
East Coast wise, it's I don't know. There's some good guys, no doubt. I mean, but I like to kind of just myself just decipher and just because you never know. Because when you start changing stuff, I mean, it's happened to us. I'm sure it's happened to everybody as a bettor. We know you draw up a ticket and then you're like, let me go look at someone else's picks. And the next thing you know, you're throwing off a horse and he wins at 20-1
Right.
and the only leg you missed in the pick five and you just cost yourself 20K, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, just learning, evolving every year. I mean, it's always a learning game. You can find new angles, new ways to look at a race. It's that's what makes it fun, and that's
Yeah.
why I like Del Mar so much because it's so hard. It's like you said, but if you're right one time, you're getting paid. So depending on what you're doing, win bet or whatever, but it's just the fun of it. It's a challenge every single weekend when you open up the form, and that's why I love it so much. It's really a
Right. And
challenging thing. So it's when you're right, you feel like you're on top of the world, especially if you hit a big pick five or a big win bet. It's any kind of bet at that point. Whatever your playing style is, but
yeah.
it's so fun. So
You get that dopamine rush, and it's like you want to try and chase it again and again, and I love it.
Very addicting. Yeah.
But we talk about handicapping, etc. And as we all know, that's only one piece of the puzzle. Wagering is the other piece of the puzzle, and to me, that's the harder piece of the puzzle because you can have such a good opinion in a race and be right and still not make money. So, what is I know you say you play a lot of pick fives and stuff, but what is your wagering approach?
50-cent pick fives is my main gig. That's what I play. I usually play, depending on if I really, really like a sequence. Yeah. 50-cent pick fives is it's usually I play Saturday and I play Sunday. I play one pick the late. It's always the late pick five too. I really don't dabble in the early. I don't know. I've never been here and there. If I'm at the track all day, I'll play the early, but the main
Yeah.
late is always my main gig. And it's crazy though too because when I first was young and really inexperienced, I was just a win bet player, and
Right.
it was so hard sometimes when you love three horses. You know what I mean? It's like and then you always pick the wrong one, and that other one wins. Never
Right.
forget another day in my life where it was a big like milestone or that changed the way I played horses was I was hanging out with my buddy Ryan Newport one day. We were betting Arlington Million Day. And this is really the day that changed me to the better I am today. He said that he looked at me and he said, Joe, you go back and forth all the time with, oh, you like two horses here, you like three horses there. You could just use all two or all three or all four or one, whatever it may be, and move on to the next race, so on and so forth. That day, I'll never forget it. That was the first pick four I ever played and the first pick four I hit. And it actually happened on a crazy disqualification. A Euro, I don't remember the name, but he drifted bad. Joe Bravo was on a Chad Brown horse flying up the rail, and he actually nailed the horse for second by this much. And the horse got taken down, and Chad got put up. And then the Pizza Man won the Arlington Million and ended up
Oh
hitting the
yeah.
pick four. And that was it for me. The rest is history. So
Then you were hooked. That's it. Multi-race wagers are the only.
yeah,
and now I know win bets too because we're going to talk about a couple of horses you like. All right, we're going to get into the races, but just real quick, I'm going to give you three rapid fire questions. Just give me the first thing that comes to your top of your head. Favorite horse of all time?
Caleb's Posse.
Okay, that was a
Breeders'
sprinter,
Cup,
right?
Breeders' Cup Mile winner at Church of Diamonds. He mowed down. Oh, who was it? I don't know. He was Rajiv Mirage. I mean, he was in the middle of the track. I remember jumping around in my living room like a little kid, and I was young, but still, it was a memorable moment.
I love it.
The two bad beats though he had Shackelford and that Johnny Vast. I think it was Shug. I forgot the name of the horse, but to honor and serve. No, I don't know. Whatever. But yeah, Caleb's Posse.
Caleb's Posse. All right. If you owned a very expensive racehorse, who would your trainer be?
Depends. It depends if it's a dirt horse or a turd horse. Dirt or turf.
Let's see. It's a potential Derby candidate.
Derby probably. Todd Pletcher, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So, and last question: if you're alive in the pick six for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you only have one horse in the last leg, who would you want your jockey to be?
I mean, right now it's like everyone fears Irad, it seems like, But I mean, if you're talking West Coast, Hector or Juan, but I would probably, then you even talk about your European jockeys count.
Sure, absolutely.
Ryan Moore, then.
Ryan Moore. Okay. Yeah. Well, one of the best in the world, if not the best.
Yeah.
All right. I love it. Let's get into the races. Let's get some handicapping and some wagering going on.
Let's do it.
We got an 11 race card today. Plenty of spots to choose from. I know you have two horses, two races you have targeted, and you also want to give out a pick five ticket. Let's focus on the two races first, and then we can circle back and you can give out your pick five ticket. So that's going to come in race 7, a Calbred maiden special weight, contested at 6 furlongs on the main track. Got a full field of 11 horses entered, and the morning line favorite is number 1, California Tiger at 5-2. This horse had a trouble trip last time, yet still just missed by a nose. That was a good race, but it was back in May, so clearly the horse needed some time to recover from that effort. Today, has to break from the rail. Talk us through the race, Joe. What are you doing?
Yeah, and I guess we'll start with that. The fact that he drew the dead rail, going 6. And I'm gonna stick by the rule, and he is a fade for me here, even though a lot of people may be leaning on the horse here. But I landed on a horse coming in off a layoff. I landed on Driver's Ed. Blacker looks to have the horse ready to go. The work tab looks good. He faced a very talented horse, Giver Not a Taker, which is probably the main reason why I landed on this horse. When you look at Giver Not a Taker, I think he's raced about 6 or 7 times since that race. And I think he raced in about 5 stakes races, facing really tough competition. He lost to Buzz, who, we seen roll here on Friday.
Yeah.
And also 3 back, he faced an up-and-coming horse that I really love, is Moose Mitchell. And I don't know what the ceiling is for that horse. But, I mean, his last 3, I think 2 or 3 performances have been lights out. So, the layoff is tough. But the fact that he, the favorite draws a rail, I'm going to try to take a stand here and hope Blacker has his horse ready to roll. I mean, there's a few others that, in a race like this where you see Blacker has a horse like this, and then he also has a first-time starter in the race, we'll get back. Well, I'll talk about that when we talk about the pick 5, but, interesting, so I got a feeling that Blacker has his horse ready. So that, and the main thing too, is like you said, that favorite draw on the rail. So I'm going to try to take a stand and beat him with Driver's Ed. So.
All right. No, so number 7, Driver's Ed, and you're going to do a win bet.
Yep.
Are there any specific types of races that you look for that you feel like you're better at, or you just kind of take every race as they come? This is a maiden special weight for Calbreds, and I know the next race we're going to talk about is a turf race. But do you feel like you gravitate towards certain races where your opinion seems to be better?
No, not really. I just, to be honest, when I was looking at this race, I, going back to some of my angles and handicapping a class, and I just thought, that when I seen that, that Giver Not a Taker, I did a deep dive because I was like, I feel like this is a good horse, and looked at the work tab, and I'm like, I got a feeling that, like you said, anything can happen in these kinds of races. That's why it is tough to maybe sit here and give out a win bet in a race like this, but
right.
Take a shot. We'll see what happens. I mean, and the big thing, like I said, the trends and I keep coming back to it and keep saying it, but I really think, with the favorite, who knows? He may go off 8-5,
that for sure. That horse is going to get hammered. Absolutely.
So I think, the 4-4-1 may be right around it and make it a little bit more, so I think so no, it's not. Sometimes I just look at the form and I just, whatever pops out at me, and
sure.
Kind of when I'm going through the race. Like I said, I really look at the late too. So some of these other races were tough for me to pick one. So
yeah, well, I mean, I think you said the most important thing. Like, you think if the favorite's vulnerable. If you think the favorite is vulnerable,
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yeah, with the trends though, I don't.
it's the second leg of the Del Mar. Yeah, the internet's a little choppy out here, but
We're good.
it's the second leg of the turf series that Del Mar has, which culminates in the Del Mar Derby later in the meet. I did this race for the Del Mar website, but I didn't have a really good feel for it. I did a horse by horse, and I wasn't crazy about anyone. I came up with a price horse because I didn't really think the two morning line choices were all that strong. So I'm playing against them. I know you're playing against them as well, but we came up with different horses. Tell us who you like in race 10.
I landed on Smart Mo the one. When I first looked at this horse, what popped out to me was his father, Motown. And I was like, that horse won the Hollywood Derby. So I went back and looked 2017. Sure, So I was like, that was a big, angle for me. Also, you look at, his first race out was very impressive, even though it wasn't on the turf. But the breeding shows that he should have no issue handling the turf today. So, I mean, you run a 94 first out. Not a lot of horses can say that. Then you come out,
Yeah,
stretching out into his stakes at Los Al, which is a very funky track. But I mean, he faced, the likes of Reincarnate, Skinner, Prince Abu Dhabi, so I really think this horse could be sitting on a big one. And another angle for me at Del Mar, another one of my friends' angles who brought this up to me a few years ago was, the rail going long. These horses can tuck in, save ground. Hopefully Joe Bravo, sits off the speed right behind and just gets the jump, So I really think this horse is live today. I really do. And hopefully maybe we can even get more than 8-1, like you said, because I mean, you got a horse like Maltese Falcon who he's a maiden but he runs good every time, but I feel like he needs the perfect setup. And it's not that he's not getting it, but I just don't think he wants to win. Some horses they run good every time, but they just can't get there.
right.
So I think, and
Yep.
one thing that kind of was interesting to me, you see Hector jumps off, and I don't know
Right.
what that was about. I mean, obviously Hector now is on this Gulfstream shipper who, ran a live race last time out. The fractions look a little slow for me there, but I mean, he's live. I mean, like you said, I remember reading, you said this guy Sanchez,
Yeah.
when he's bringing horses out here, you got to pay attention, and he's getting one of the leading riders. So, I mean, he's going to take, he may take some money. You got the shipper Panic Alarm, another one who's going to take money. I love your horse, though. I really do. I think Zalamo was, he was right there for me, too, as well. Troubled at the start, came flying late. So, one thing, though, that I was talking to my friend about, they didn't work out the horse sense. And I was kind of looking at that. I was like, he worked out right before his first start, and then they just kind of, they haven't since. So that was a little interesting to me. Why? But
Right.
they must be that confident that he's just ready to roll. So, but Smart Mo, yeah. I mean, I'm interested. I'm very interested to see how this horse takes to the turf. I really don't think he should have a problem. So hopefully we get maybe 10-12-1.
Yeah.
So that's
Well,
another win for me.
like you said, I like number 8 Zalamo, but now I think I'm just going to whack a 1/8 exacta box, and
Yeah. Yeah.
and take on those short price horses who are
Yeah.
taking who are probably going to take a lot of money and do not have to win. But I love the case for your 1-2. I mean, if Smart Mo runs that debut race on turf that he ran on dirt, he wins the race.
Yeah.
And I like the point you talked about in turf racing here, especially here at Del Mar. You want to find the rail, you want to race covered up,
Yep.
and you want to explode home. I mean, that's been the winning profile for years here. Corey Nakatani used to be the best at it. No matter what, he would hug that rail and he would not give it up. And then once a little bit of daylight opened, he'd be aggressive and he'd shoot right through, and he would boot home so many price horses just because he knew how to ride the turf. So you mentioned Barrios. Barrios has been very good riding on the turf.
I'm always
he's
intrigued.
on that Sanchez horse.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with Sanchez, he ran 1-2 yesterday, and he had the one who won was a $60 horse, and the place horse paid $11. The exacta paid 162. It should have paid 300. The
Was that
barn must
earlier?
have unloaded. That was yesterday. It was
Early in the,
two Chilean horses.
was it early in the card?
Yeah, it was like race 4 or
Oh,
something.
that's why.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so you
I
missed
missed
it.
that race. Wow. So hey, that's a good sign for that horse. Then if you're on that horse, that's what you want to see. Because like you said, I mean, these guys don't ship across the United States for nothing. If they don't think they have a shot. And look, the one thing I'm intrigued to see, I'm intrigued to see when they're routing on turf is what's the first fraction. If it's 22, the speed is done. You know what I mean? I don't think I've seen a race yet where they're going long and they go 22 and the speed holds. So that's why
It's
that's
very tough to wire. It's very tough to wire them here at Del Mar. It's especially tough in a mile. It's a little less tough as the distances get longer. This is a mile and a 16th. So until we see that one dominant wire winner, I'm going to stick to my game plan, which is looking for horses who I know are going to get a covered up trip and then explode late. So we got some prices in that race. I love it. You got a win bet at 8-1, and we're going to wrap up, but let's just briefly walk us through your pick 5, so players can kind of see how you're approaching the day.
Yeah, so I centered my pick 5 today around Rapoli's horse in the in the 9th race.
Ninth race, yeah.
To start off, this race, I know people may think I'm crazy for not even using the 1 at all on my ticket, but like I said, I got to stick to the rules sometimes, and he's a toss for me. I was thinking about going 5, 6, 7, 10. Mark Glatt, I don't know, his horse, the work tab, looks like maybe this horse is ready to run a high number today. I don't know. Obviously, my top pick, Driver's Ed. I was kind of going back and forth with Pipey's first-time starters because sometimes in these races where they're bad races to me, I like to sometimes look at first-time starters because they're just the unknown. And if you could get one in at a price, so I'm hoping maybe Pipey's got that 7 ready to go. And then another angle for me is when I see a trainer with 2 horses, I really don't like to leave the other one off because how many times in racing do you see when you have, Chad Brown's got a favorite and then he's got a 6-1 shot, he wins with the 6-1 shot.
Right.
So many times in racing. So that's why I don't like to get beat by that. And then in the 8th race, the 6 looked really good to me. The 2 looked really good to me. I think those are 2 horses that, maybe people can lean on. The 10 off a layoff.
Right.
Glatt, I feel like he fires big out in Del Mar, Barrios and Mullins is another, combo. You see these guys hitting at high percentages all the time. And then this 5 horse, this big little sis, to me, I think just the fact that maybe he was kind of coming out of some stakes race or some lower level stakes races, and maybe he could be around. That was a horse that I was just like, I wouldn't want to get beat by him, so I kind of threw him on. The 9th race, the fact that when I seen Rapoli's horse debut in California, I was kind of like, I was like, what's going on with this? I was very shocked.
Yeah, I know he bought a Calbred, which is very interesting. So
right. So,
the horse looks so impressive. Winning that race.
That first out was great, and then you see some sorry. Yeah, that Grand Slam Smile. I'm the 2, probably between those 2, but I needed to lean somewhere, so I went with.
Yeah, you gotta plant a flag somewhere and kind of build your ticket around a horse. I think that's a good one. I think that's a legit horse, and that allows you to spread in all the other legs.
Exactly.
And then we talked about race 10, where you're betting the 1, but you're also using the 7 and the 8. And then what about the nightcap?
Real quick, just Henry Q. Love Doug O'Neill. Love Doug O'Neill. Okay. Love him going to the turf. Face great horses. So, I think he has a big shot. And then in the last race, last races are always weird races where I like to have a lot of coverage sometimes, depending, I usually go about 5 deep in almost every closing leg, depending on if there's a real, unless there's one real standout. So, I mean, I landed on the
Sure.
3-7, 9-11. Throwing out the 12, we talked about him earlier. He's had a lot of chances. He's always knocking on the door. I hope he takes a lot of money. I hope I'm just not wrong about leaving him off the ticket. You see, this 11 horse in this field. I mean, bizarre. I don't know. I don't even know what made me gravitate towards him, to be honest. Just a weird race where I'm like, maybe, there's times where I've used weird horses and it's paid off.
That's
But I
it.
mean, I really think probably the horses to beat are the 3, 7, and 9, in that race. Barrios, I love Andy Mathis. He
Yep.
doesn't have a big string of horses, but when he puts one out there, I always feel the need to use his horses. And that Snap Daddy horse, he's going to be tough, I think. You look back, he's faced Henry Q second out, I think, yeah, he's going to be tough. So,
well, I love it. I like the ticket. You got some good coverage. You're keying around the Mike Riepele horse. Would you come back? You play this, and I know with your two strong opinions in race 7 and 10. Would you come back and play it an extra time with just those two horses, with the rest of the other horses spread around there?
To be honest, for me, like, obviously this being my first time giving out a pick 5 online ever, $120 is low for me. I don't, I like to have coverage. I think I will definitely, when I play my own ticket, I will definitely single the 3, but that I may, like that first race, it's tough. Sometimes
Yeah.
I want to use 5 or 6 just to get out of a race like that. I feel
Sure.
pretty good about my pick, slow mo or the Mo horse, Smart Mo, but
Smart Mo, yeah.
going back and looking at some of those replays, especially your horse, I was like, I don't think I will key. I usually don't do what you said. I usually don't key and play it multiple times because I like to have. I would rather have more coverage than play it multiple times. But I know people who love to be thin and play it 5, 10, 20 times.
Right. Yeah, there's different strategies for everybody, and it's what your comfort level is and how strong you feel about a sequence or not strong, and you just, you want as much coverage as you can.
Exactly.
Joe, thanks so much. I had such a great time talking with you. So glad you could do it. I'm going to keep an eye out for Joe Don Looney because we're going to get you out to California again pretty soon. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll be back on track next Saturday for my on track seminar and again for best bets. Thanks for watching. Thank you, Joe. As I always like to say, good luck to us and let's win some money.
Thank you so much, Frank. Thanks for having me, bro. It's been a pleasure, an honor. I look forward to getting out to Del Mar again sometime soon. It could be, it could be in a few weeks, so we'll see.
I love it, Joe. Thanks so much, man. All right, we'll talk later. Bye.